so abusive physically. I mean, it's one thing to be emotionally abusive and another thing to be physically. And when you have both, it's like the perfect storm of like the makings for chaos in your life.
Right.
And it just sounded like he was just nasty. Nasty, and everything was your fault, and you were always wrong, and you weren't living up to a standard, both you and your brother and your mom.
Right.
And it was just constant physical abuse over and over. I mean, the story of you just being bent over and him just like whipping you over and over, and you just gasping for air. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is crazy.
Right.
How did you deal with that? How did you like overcome the constant physical and emotional abuse?
You know what? It's all I knew. So when you're born to that, it's all you know. I mean, you know something's not right, because in my mind, as a young kid, I could tell, man, you know, the way I was processing things wasn't right.
Right.
I mean, I suffered from severe toxic stress, and that was one of the big reasons why I started, you know, I had a learning disability. My focus in life was way off. I was afraid. I was afraid of everything. And when you have that kind of foundation growing up, and that's where you start life at, is being beat, being abused, and also working all night at a skating rink, not going to school, and you have a guy who's an alcoholic, and the second he got drunk, he got mad. And so our house lived in fear.
Yeah.
And the one thing that you can't ever get out of a kid's mind is your mom's mind, like your mom's face.
The terror.
The terror of your mom's face.
Worst.
So, you know, I didn't care about my brother. I didn't care about me. But I saw this woman go from Mary Poppins, the sweetest person on the planet Earth. And when you see your mom start to transform to a shell, to a person whose face becomes stoic, a person who has no emotion, and that changes a kid.
Yeah.
And when you're young and you have to grow up so fast, so by 8 years old, my mind was of us 40-year-olds at 8. You know, my family, like, life came at me, and it makes your brain, you're outside playing with kids. You know, you're trying to avoid getting beat.
Yeah.
You know, you're avoiding all these things.
Yeah. Then you go home, it's supposed to be safe.
Right.
And you're getting beat again.
Exactly. And what's funny about that, we lived on Paradise Road.
Yeah.
We lived on Paradise Road. And it
wasn't so paradise.
No, it was anything but paradise, man. You know, once those doors shut, my dad gave everybody a different view of him.
He wore the nice tailored suits.
Right.
He smiled.
That's right. Yeah. Your dad's amazing. Those doors shut, man, and the devil himself came out. So it was rough, and that's why my foundation was so beaten down at a young age.
So learning disability, I grew up dyslexic, so I can relate to that of just like constantly feeling stupid and insecure. And, I had a tutor my entire life.
Horrible.
Until I finished college, I had a tutor.
Right.
Second grade reading level when I was in 8th grade. It was just like a constant struggle emotionally. And I took that outlet into sports and said, I'm going to just train myself to be the best I can be in a place where I can learn something differently and pick up a different skill. But with your learning disability, with your dad beating you, screaming at you, emotionally challenging your mind, with the racism you dealt with the different struggles you felt, with bullies, what was the hardest obstacle to overcome from up until about 15, 16?
The hardest obstacle was myself. I started realizing more and more and more that all these people were gone. What was haunting me was me. I can't control my dad. I can't control the people calling me. I can't control all these things, but they were things that kept me down. It started becoming my reality. My reality was what they made it out to be. And I became the most important conversation you'll ever have with your life, in your life, is when you have yourself. And my conversation was absolutely horrifying.
What were you saying to yourself?
I'm dumb. I'm nobody. My dad was great in mental warfare. A drunk, insecure man will make everybody around him feel like hell.
Yeah.
Because he wants to give you no power. And that's why he was so mean to my mom and myself and my brother, because he didn't want anybody to get above him. He wanted to keep you down low. So when you're growing up with all of this stuff, all this hate, and it wasn't the beatings. I could take the beatings all day. It was a mental torture. So when, at a young age, your parents put a dialogue in you of confidence or you're nobody. So that voice in my head was, I'm a loser. And then it was confirmed when I got in school, and in 3rd grade, I was falling behind. They want to put me in a special school.
Yeah.
With kids who can't learn.
Right.
Then it was confirmed what my dad was saying. So that confirmed it. Then I started cheating. So I started realizing, you know what? I'm taking the easy way out again.
Yeah.
And it started snowballing from there. Now the kids are calling me nigger. But it wasn't all the kids. So what happens is you start to get this picture that everybody hates you because your reality becomes so big that you can't see the clear picture.
It might have been 3 or 4
That's
kids
it.
doing it over and over.
Right, but it was the whole town.
Yeah.
Everybody hated me. So
The world hates me.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's when it became toxic. And that is where I became my worst enemy.
Wow. So those are the conversations.
Those are the conversations.
When did you start to realize that those conversations weren't supporting your life?
So my mom was getting ready to get married, and this guy came into our lives. His name was Wilmuth. He came into our lives, and like I always say, whenever my life's getting better, God will put another challenge in front of me. He gets murdered.
Oh, man.
And we moved back to Brazil. So we moved from this small town in Brazil, and we moved to Indianapolis, Indiana. A lot more blacks, a lot more different colors.
Yeah. Weren't you living in New York at some point, too?
I was born in Buffalo, New York.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
And I went from Buffalo to Indiana, and then from Indiana to Indianapolis, Indiana. Indianapolis, Indiana, he got murdered when I was in Indianapolis. We went back to Brazil. When we went back to Brazil, this is when the racism started.
Really?
Because now I'm 16. So when I was first in Brazil, I was 8 and 9. Wow. Kids don't care.
Yeah.
You're just a kid. I look different, but kids don't care.
Yeah.
Kids don't know. But when I moved and I came back, I'm no longer a kid. So all the kids I grew up with, I'm now different. I'm different. So there's about 5 black kids in my school. And the reality came when I came out one day and on my car was spray painted, "We're going to kill you."
Oh my gosh. In Brazil?
In Brazil.
In Portuguese?
No, my fault. Brazil, Indiana.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, my fault. Brazil, Indiana.
I was like, oh, you went to Brazil.
No.
I was like,
no, Brazil, Indiana.
Brazil, Indiana.
Yes,
From
Brazil,
Indianapolis
Indiana.
to Brazil, Indiana. Got it.
So I was in Brazil, Indiana, and about 10 minutes from Brazil, Indiana is a small town called Center Point, Indiana. And Center Point, Indiana was at that time a huge hub of the KKK.
Wow.
In 1995, the Klan marched on the 4th of July parade. And I don't know if the picture's in, I don't know if any pictures are in there, but if not, there's a picture in the book in 1995, 10 minutes from my house, of crosses being burnt.
10 minutes from your house?
10 minutes from my house.
Wow.
So when you have all this negativity growing up and now you're cheating,